Hello, hello. Welcome to Human Design Hot Topics. We are very excited that you're here. My name is Rebeka. This is Janelle.
Hey there, if you're watching us on video. If not, double wave, quad wave, woo!
Yay! Spirit fingers.
Right. So, hey everybody, welcome. If you listened to the last episode, then this episode will make so much sense to you. If not, it'll still make sense.
Yes.
But this is a part 2 of a 2-part, kind of 3-part episode thing that we have going on. And the last time you heard us speak, we talked about human design and dating.
Yes. Yes. And I had just gotten on dating apps, or no, one app.
Yeah, dating apps that produce multiple results. So, yeehaw. Are you wearing new glasses right now?
Yes.
They look so amazing on you. I was like,
you.
something looks different about your face, and it's your glasses. They look awesome. Are they purple?
They're purple, and they don't have the anti-glare thing though, so it's stressing me out. But whatever.
Well, they look great. Like, I love that color on your face. It looks beautiful.
Thank you. All
right, sorry, I was distracted by Rebeka's beauty, guys. So you're on an app, and when last time we talked, you hadn't gone on dates. We were talking about how you felt about it, kind of both of our dating histories a little bit, and how human design has really changed the way we look at ourselves. So it's changed the way that we look at potential partners, which I think is awesome and helpful, because you were on like a sabbatical for a little while where you're like, no dating.
Yeah, it's like I just got tired. Well, and I had spent honestly most of my life really seeking affirmation for my existence from potential partners, like trying to find that, like, yeah. So I just had to shut it down and think it's time to be okay on your own and to really fine tune my own energy and figure myself out and, not get in a relationship out of fear.
Yeah. And there's so many ways it can go. Like, you can go on a few dates with somebody and be like, I like you, but more as a friend. Or you could write somebody off right away and find yourself thinking about them and messaging them, and you're like, crap. You can also go on dates with someone that's interesting and fun and hot, and you're like, I don't know where this is going, but this is fun. So it's just like, there's a lot of different ways that it can go. And I like that you are not trying to pigeonhole yourself into, it must be a serious relationship or bust. Because for people, especially like you and I, we're not going to really know that until we're in it.
Right. Yeah. Right. And I mean, obviously I want my partner, I want my long-term person, and that's the ultimate goal, but I can't just expect that. And I think I know I had a period of time where I did that. I'm like, okay, it's time to get married again.
Yeah. You can't expect it, and you also shouldn't accept it when it's just somebody who's like, they're kind of cool, I guess. We have some things in common. I guess we'll see if I want to hang out with this person forever. Like, yeah, I don't know. I haven't dated in so long either, but I mean, I'm married, so that's probably why. It'll be 10 years in September that Sean and I have been together. And I was like, wow, I know. So that's a long time. I hadn't been with anyone longer than a year before him.
Wow.
I'm not.
That's really awesome.
I was never really I wanted relationships, but it just was too much work. I didn't really feel like doing that for another person. I'm like, I'm still trying to get myself together, just like you.
Yeah. Well, to see, I did it opposite. I was in relationships, and I've forgotten now, but I could tell you, like, I had a boyfriend every year from preschool. I had a boyfriend every single year throughout school. And then, of course, I married my high school boyfriend. We were together for 15 years total. And then just a couple dating situations, a couple fun situations.
Yeah. That we'll just say I was mostly fun for a long time. But that's what worked out best for me. And I honestly thought I might not get married. Like, I was like, I don't know if I'll ever be in like a legit long-term relationship. And I was kind of cool with it when I moved to Colorado. And then all of a sudden I met Sean, and it was like, oh.
Wait, and how old were you when you moved to Colorado and met Sean?
This was my solar return, right? Is that 30?
The Saturn return?
Saturn. Oops, sorry,
Okay.
Saturn.
Yeah.
Saturn return, because I was 29 when I moved here, but I turned 30 like 2 months after I moved here.
Okay.
And I met Sean 1 month after I moved here.
6-line life, folks. 6-line life.
Nutty. And it was very much not anything I was looking for or wanted at all, because I didn't know a single person. And he's the only person I ever dated here. And it was just very easy. And it feels very cliche. Like, I've said this to you a bunch of times. Like, I feel so cheeseball when I say, like, I don't really even know how it happened. Mm-hmm. But one day I just remember I was in the shower and I was like, what if this dude asked you to marry him? And it was like, oh, you're going to say yes. And I was like, what? Really? And yeah, it was like, that's what's going to happen. And then like months later, he asked me to marry him. And he surprised the shit out of me. I was not prepared at all. Wow. But it was awesome. Did I tell you how he asked me to marry him? I never did.
No, I don't think you did.
We took like this 10-day camping trip. And my husband's a wedding photographer, everybody. So he has all the gears and gadgets and gizmos for photography. And he loves taking photos of the Milky Way. So that's like nighttime photography. And when we go camping, I sleep in the tent, and he gets up in the middle of the night in the cold and goes and shoots the Milky Way. And I look at the pictures the next day and I'm like, oh, beautiful. But it's fucking freezing. So I'm not going to go out there. So one time he was like, I want to do like a kissing photo, like silhouette with you and me. He's like, can we try it? And I was like, sure, come get me. And I was like wrapped up, and then he came and got me, and I came out with my sweater on, my big sweater. And I was just standing, and he was testing the light. And I've done all this before. So I was just standing there. And then he comes over and he goes, okay, this is a long exposure and I need you to not freak out. And I was like, huh? I'm like, what do you mean freak out? I'm not going to freak out. I'm like, you've taken photos of me a million times. And he gets down on one knee. And I was like, he's like, don't freak out. It's still taking the photo. And he was like doing this cool, like long exposure. And he pulled out this ring box that had a light in it, like a really bright light, so that it illuminated our faces. And so there's a photo of the Milky Way and him on one knee with like this light, and me going like, but it's like silhouette. You can't really see who we are, but you can see it's people. And it's real. I'll send it to you so you can see it. It's really
Please
cool.
do. That sounds beautiful.
But he got me good. I was not prepared in any sort of way.
Yeah.
But it was great, and it was really fun, and we were by ourselves. We had our dogs, and it was just us, and he did a really good job. Like, I know people say that, but like, he did a really good job really surprising me, because I'm usually pretty observant about stuff like that, and
yeah,
I had no idea. So yeah, but yeah, that's my dating relationship story for the last 10 years. Is I met a really great guy, and he's still really great, which is so confusing to me. Like, how does that happen? But I try not to read too much into it.
Yeah. No, just
that's where you can get yourself in trouble, especially when things start to get really serious, is trying to figure out how this is going to go badly, how this is going to go sour. Like, where's it going to come from? And me, I have real issues with trust. So yeah, it's just better if I don't put myself in that headspace at all.
Yeah.
But I have to say, there's never been a time where I didn't trust that he wanted the same stuff that I wanted. So I guess I do trust some people. Okay, now I want to talk about your dates. you're going on a date. You're going on a date. Actually, you've already been. So
Yes.
that's where we are. You were going to
Yes.
go on dates, and now you've been on dates, and then some stuff happened, and we'll get to the stuff too, but dates.
Yeah. So it's kind of fun when you first get on the app because there's like a flurry. Of course, they push your profile out. And so I had a lot of attention, and I ended up with 3 guys asking me on a date. It's like, okay, cool. Let's do this. And so it was really interesting. One of them, because one thing I figured out, some guys would ask for my number like right away. And so I would just start saying, I don't get my number until I see someone in person. Because usually there's the scammers, right?
Yeah.
And so one guy, like, we set up a date, we set up a time, and then he's like, here's my number if you feel comfortable texting. I was like, well, yeah, might as well. Like, we set it up. We've had a good conversation. And so we chatted a bit, but he would always be like, send me a picture, send me a picture. And I'm like, I don't know you. I'm not going to just send pictures over text.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a slippery slope.
Right. Like, I mean, I sent one where I'm like, hey, like it's really me. Because he sent a funny one. Like, he sent a thing of him. He's like, it's really me. Just, I'm not a scammer.
Oh, I get it. Like, not a catfish photo. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Like holding up today's paper. See?
Yes.
I'm real life.
I'm a real person. So I did that. I'm like, okay, that's cute. Like, yeah, hey. And we chatted a bit, but then it was weird because then he would keep sending me like a selfie. It was never anything inappropriate, which I really appreciate. It was just like a hey. And the last conversation we had, it was kind of funny because he asked me something about what I do. And so I talked about human design, and he asked me more questions. I'm like, here's my website if you want to check out what I do. And then the next day I was like, how was your day? And he's like, oh, it was really crappy, but it's better now knowing that you're about to send me a pretty picture. And I was like, stop. And so I sent him a picture of the sunset.
That is a pretty picture. He didn't specify.
I was like, here's a pretty picture. And I heard nothing from him till the next day where he's like, hey, I've been thinking about it. I just don't think there's any chemistry here.
Right. He just wanted pictures. He wanted it to evolve to other types of photos, I think.
Right. Exactly. And so I know there was a time in the past where I would try to do that so I could prove that I'm worthy enough to be in this relationship, right? But now I'm like, you don't even know me. Like, you've barely asked much about me.
Yeah.
You are not recognizing me. And that's what needs to happen here. And so if all you want is some pictures, you're going to have to go somewhere else. Like, I wasn't sad. I just kind of laughed because he made no mention. He didn't ask anything about human design. And it was upset that I didn't send him pictures. So we never went on the date. I'm like, I was actually kind of relieved. I was like, I really didn't have the energy for that anyway.
Yeah.
And so the next one was a lunch, and this guy and I had talked, we'd had good conversation. It was fine. He never even approached the phone number thing. He just kept the conversation app, which I really appreciated. And we met up, and he was nice, but there wasn't really much chemistry. And then I feel a little bad because he stood up to like greet me and give me a hug, and he's a good 2 inches shorter than me. And I'm only 5'4". So it's weird for me to feel big around people. There's certain people that I feel big around because but they have to be fairly small. And I'm like, I just don't, like, I'm only 5'4". I don't want to be taller. If I was like 6 feet tall, then I'd deal with it. But
5'8", I know, I've dated short guys my whole life.
Right. But you're 5'8", so that makes sense. It's not hard to be taller than me.
It's not, well, that I totally get, but like guys that are shorter than me are still pretty short. Like 5'7" is still pretty, right? Or like the regular.
Not to me.
I guess it's true. I don't know how I met a 6'3" man on Tinder. I almost said TikTok. Tinder, but I did. I got very lucky with Sean. When we met, I was like, oh my God, you're tall. Because it's like, even It's hard not to feel like you're being like superficial or whatever when you talk,
Right.
especially when you talk about height. But I don't know. I feel like if you would have gotten on the date and you would have had like a super amazing connection and the same thing would happen to you instead of been 2 inches shorter than you would have been surprised, but you wouldn't have been like, oh.
Right. Right.
It would
If
have
there
been
was a
like,
really good connection, things
oh.
were flowing, then it would be different. Like we had a decent conversation, but it wasn't super
Yeah.
exciting. And
And if
he,
you were attracted to him,
yeah,
that part would have been like, I mean, I would like it if you were taller, but it doesn't matter. But when it's already kind of not, you're like, well, I mean, it's extra not.
yeah, yeah. So that one just kind of fizzled. We talked
Yeah.
a little bit after, like a couple conversations, but he never asked me out again and nothing happened. And then the third one, we actually went to the Museum of Natural Sciences down here,
Oh,
which I thought was a cool idea. And
yeah.
I hadn't been there in over a decade. And I used to go a lot as a kid. That was like the field trip of the year when we were growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool. And it's like, and we had very intellectual conversations, which was great. And I wasn't sure how I'd feel about him physically, but I'm like, let's just show up and find out. Definitely not attracted to him physically, but he's really smart and really kind. And we had a fun conversation. Like the conversation flowed the whole
Yeah.
time. And I was like, I think we could maybe be friends. But then also that's when I realized like I was really anxious about going, like being in the museum made me nervous just being around all these people. I'm like, I don't know if it's just me aligning to my energy, but I can't handle crowds as much anymore.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It sneaks up on you because you think you're fine, especially when you're like, oh, it's a museum. So it's not like it's going to be a rock concert or
Yeah.
like people running around or acting crazy. Like it's a museum, but it's still a lot of energy. And I've said this a million
Mm-hmm.
times, but like I don't give myself enough credit for just being around people. And I'm glad that
Yeah.
you noticed that while you were there, because that might have turned you off on the guy, but instead you're like, actually, it was this situation. But then now let's
Well,
look at the guy.
yeah, it was like a little, and I'm like, I mean, it's decent conversation, but I just want to go home. Like
Mm-hmm.
being with this guy isn't more exciting to me than being at home.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so like we chatted a little bit too. Like I could tell he was a lot more interested. And I didn't really say anything because I thought, and this was the weekend before I started my long-term sub position.
Mm-hmm,
So it was like
mm-hmm.
2 days before I started that. And so I told him, like, I'm about to start this. I don't know what life is going to look like. We'll
Yeah.
see. So we talked a little bit off and on. And then it took me a couple weeks, but I finally was like, I can't, like, I'm not into the dating thing right now. I'm not feeling it. And he's like, that's totally fine. It's not a big deal. Like, but I'm always happy to have more friends if
Oh,
you're open to that. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's really nice. And we haven't really talked since then.
yeah.
But I just saw on TikTok, he just followed me on TikTok a couple days ago.
Oh, how funny. Well, he's gonna see the real Rebeka on
Yeah. Yeah.
that'll be great.
And he's super sciencey. So I could tell, like, he asked me a couple questions about human design on the date, but he was coming from like a science perspective. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to try to convince you to follow it. Like you can like it or not. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so I answered the questions, but I wasn't super like convincing about any of them. Like, here's what it is. So
It's hard when people ask you like, what do you do, or what is this thing? There's only so much you can say about it before you're like, okay, you kind of have to look at it yourself now, because
yeah.
I just I don't want to go so far into it and you're like, oh, I don't care about any of that at all. So
Yeah.
but a lot of times, even when people are like, oh, that's my thing, like astrology, numerology, like all that stuff is their thing. And then you start to kind of talk about human design and they get like you kind of have to, it's not like we're being snooty or like we don't want to talk about it, but it's super hard to explain.
It's like human design is just superior. And I don't want to waste my energy. If I can tell that you're not actually into it, I'm not going to waste my energy.
Yeah. And I usually go more in the direction of what it has done for me because I feel like it's such a personal thing.
I do that too.
That I'd rather tell you why I'm into it. And then you can go look at the semantics of it all and your chart and all things. I do pull charts for people at work though, just because I personally am curious sometimes about why people are the way that they are.
I wish I could run charts for a lot of the teachers and kids at the school. Yeah, right. For sure. But it also made me realize, and I had kind of thought this before, but I feel like I would really prefer to be with someone who already knows human design and is at least experimenting with it. Don't have to be as deep into it as me, I don't think, but I feel like it's just how I navigate the world. And so it would just make the most sense. Like if I need a partner who understands what soundboarding is and how to show up with that.
Oh, I love that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's very like,
yes.
There's not a lot of, well, actually there's probably more than we think. So I think you're going to be fine, but I like that you're leading with that. I wish there was a dating app for you, but we've discussed how that would not work.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it'll be fine. And then the other thing is the 3-line thing, which is interesting because 3-line, like we bump into stuff, right? So that's not how dating apps work. So it's weird as a 3-line and a projector where I was like, I just feel like I'm exerting too much energy, even swiping through. And it's not the like just run into you thing. Like my kid's dad, we just happen to sit next to each other in Spanish class, right? And then with my second husband, we just were in a CrossFit class one day. So it's like it just happens. Life bumps you into this person. So I think that's part of it too. But yeah, I just really need to be able to communicate in human design language and to have that with my partner so that we can both do the thing, right? Like how you and I talk where it's like, oh my gosh, 3-line life, right? Or I could just be like, my gate 47 is like on fire today and I'm overanalyzing everything. So can we just soundboard for a second? Like, can I just blah?
Oh my God, I want to see your face when you meet somebody who you're like, this person's kind of cute, and then they say something human designy and then your head explodes. Because that would be so funny. What? How do you know this?
I know, because nobody in my real life knows about this stuff, so I don't know. I don't know.
In most people's real life knows about this stuff unless they've cultivated it, you know, like they find we seek the people out. So
so we'll see what happens.
We already have it in the universe that we want to go to the HD conference in Santa Fe. So that is out in the universe. Even though it's time and money that we don't have.
And it's right around my birthday too. So I was like, that sounds like a fun birthday time.
Yeah, that would be really fun. Just like you said, to be around anyone in real life that knows about human design. I've been around a few people, but never. Actually, there's been one time when there's been more than one person in the room besides me that kind of knew. Yeah, when I did that, like it was a doTERRA thing I did with Jess.
With the party thing?
Yeah. But I told the people that knew about it, learned it from me. And then this one chick who I did not know at all came up to me and knew a bunch of stuff. And I was like, whoa. I didn't tell you this stuff. Cool. Yeah, it's always kind of neat. So that would be kind of fun to be. It'd be a lot of energy, but it would be fun.
Yeah.
So we kind of touched upon the dates. And then, so did you kind of decide you were not into dating before you started your job? Or were you like, I know that this is coming and this is going to take a lot of energy. So.
Yeah, I left it open for a while because curiosity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, let's just see if something pops up over the next few weeks. But I wasn't actively involved in it. I would just check every once in a while, see if
Mm-hmm.
somebody liked me or whatever. But I wasn't that into it. And then it was honestly when we chatted with Travis and he mentioned he deleted his dating apps, just something in me was like, that would feel really good. So I ended up deleting mine like the next day and I haven't
Mm-hmm.
missed it at all. I haven't even thought about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And then you started a full-time teaching job, essentially,
mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm.
So you were a long-term sub because the teacher is going to have a baby, and you knew that this was coming, but well, I want you to say like energetically how this kind of hit you.
It's I'm still unpacking that. It was a lot. It
Yeah.
was so much. And I didn't think it would be, I mean, I knew it was gonna be more, but I didn't think it would be that extensive. Because April literally disappeared. I was there for the last week of March through the end of April, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't even understand what happened
Mm-hmm.
because it just sucked all the energy. Being
Yeah.
responsible for that many kids, and then also for the curriculum because the teacher didn't leave me anything. So I was trying to figure out
Yeah.
what to do. I mean, to be fair, she wrote an outline of broad things like watch this movie this week and do debates this week or whatever. Anyway, it's a whole other subject. So trying to navigate that, but that I learned a lot about myself. Like I could really feel my one line and my fear motivation come through. This might be a good one for another episode. I don't know if we want to go this deep, but it just, I don't even know how to explain it. It was so much. It
Well, I
was
can help
so
explain
much.
it to people. Rebeka
Yes.
and I talk pretty regularly, and I did not hear from Rebeka pretty much this whole time. I would, and this is, let me preface this to say that I get why this happened. And like, this is not, I'm like, I understood what was going on. I missed you because you're my friend, but I was also like, she can't talk to me. She has no energy. She can't talk to anyone. I'm like, this must suck so bad. Mainly, I wanted to be like, I hope you know I love you. Like, I almost felt like you were, I don't know, like not vacation because you were obviously were up on vacation, but you were somewhere where I couldn't reach you, but I
Mm.
knew that I couldn't, like you weren't available, and I knew it. And it was more like, I hope you know that when you get to the other side, I'm here. Like I love you, but I knew you couldn't talk to me. So I was like leaving you little
Mm.
voice notes. And after I would leave the note, I would even say to Sean, I'm like, she can't get back to me on this. I'm just telling her stuff. I'm just telling her stuff.
Yeah.
And he was like, I understand. And I totally could feel it whenever you would make like a story or whenever you'd be like, I'm just getting back to you 4 days later. I could hear it in your voice. And it's felt to me like when I tell you I might have a 4-day week, but if I had to do that every time and I was just like dead right afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I mostly just felt bad. Like I felt bad for you.
Um,
Like I felt bad for your energy because I didn't want you to have to go through that. And I realized pretty quickly that you weren't into it. Like I could feel it from when you were talking, when you're doing stories and when you would leaving messages, I could tell that like this was just too much for your energy.
mm-hmm.
And that whatever, even though you're into teaching and even though you're into the subject and all this other stuff, like this form of it was not working out. And I know you're a sub, but you see different kids, you do different things. You don't have to have a
Mm-hmm.
curriculum. Like if you don't want to sub certain days, you don't pick up jobs on those days. You have stuff to do. Like
Yeah.
I totally get how you were like trapped in this thing that you accepted and you're like, oh shit, now I have to get out. But then it
But
got you out.
yes. Yes, that was the fascinating thing. The energy of stuff is really mind-blowing because I really like once I stopped trying to fit into the role and I just realized I'm exhausted, this is not a fit. I wasn't actually invited. I pulled my focus back and was like, fine, I'm going to change my focus. And then it was like within a couple days, the principal sends me an email, which for my undefined solar plexus, it was a little stressed because the principal, it was just a title of the email said, see me in my office when you get a chance. There was no body to the email. That's what it was.
And didn't the principal used to be?
He used to be the basketball coach when I was in high school.
Yeah, I was like, so you've already have this position of authority energy from him when you were young or when you're a teenager. Yes. So it's got to be super weird. Keep going.
Yes. It's so weird. So weird. And like everything about this job had gone wrong. And I was like, what in the world? And there, honestly, like one of my class periods there, I had quite a few seniors and they were all like in engineering or choir or band. And so as soon as we weren't doing something, they were like, can I just go to the choir room? Can I go to the band? Can I go to engineering or whatever? And I would let them because like, I know these kids and I know they're doing their thing, right? And one of them is this amazing athlete who's probably going to go pro one day. And so he would leave early to go to the weight room. And I was like, am I going to get in trouble? Because admin on it, like every single day, they're like, don't let kids go to other classes. Like, okay, well then you deal with them.
I'm not going to tell them. They want to do the thing they want to do. This is why human design is so amazing, because you realize that getting these possibly, but at least some of them are generator kids, to do something that they are absolutely not into at all is just like no, it's not gonna work. Lights them up, you know. I mean, not saying kids are all generators, but statistically,
the majority of them are.
Yeah, some of them will be, and yeah, that's nice of you to allow that. So
yeah. So anyway, that's just to say, I'm like thinking,
okay.
Yeah, am I in trouble? But I walk in and he was actually cool. He's like, yeah, come on in. So here's the deal. We have this new, like we hired somebody new and he does debate tournaments. Like he goes and judges debate tournaments in his free time. He's been doing that for like 10 years. And, you know, anyway, telling this whole thing, they're like, and this is a Thursday. And he said, so his first day is going to be on Monday. And we just want you to come in, like hang out with him on Monday, show him the ropes, get him going. But then you're free after that. And I was like, okay, that sounds great. Yeah, thanks. And I had mixed feelings. Part of me was like, did I do such a terrible job that they're kicking me out?
Everybody, that's what I was gonna say. Everybody would immediately go to what did I do? But I love that, you know, one, that you didn't do anything. And two, I bet you felt relieved after you realized you were just let out of this thing that you thought we were going to have to do until like June, right?
Yes. Yeah. Like I would still be in it. Back, so yeah, I got so much back. And so like, for the most part, like the grand majority of me was relieved and amused because this was also right after Mercury went retrograde. And so when Mercury's in retrograde, like things shift, right? And I was
when I saw this on your stories, I was like, what? She's out of it? She got out? I was so happy because I knew that ultimately you're going to be happy about this.
Yes. I was so tired.
Life is, people, like, you accept things and you get in the thing and you're like, oh, this is not for me. That doesn't mean that you suck or that you're not good enough for this thing or that, oh no, you're going to, like, this isn't for you. It's because it's not for you. It's not for Rebeka. Her energy did not jive with this thing. And her energy is the number one thing for her to be worried about. So it's not like she got let go and she was like, oh my God, what did I do wrong? Maybe I should ask the principal like what I did wrong so I can do better next time. No, she was like, thank goodness. Now I can do my own thing and still be the sub, which you're used to doing. And I love the freedom that allows you. I feel like it's very similar to my job as waiting tables, where if I don't want to work a certain day, it's either not in my schedule to work or I could give a shift to somebody else and then I don't have to be there. I don't feel very attached to the place. And even though you sub at the same place a lot of the time, right?
All the time. I'm just at the high school. Yeah.
Yeah. It's still, you don't work there. You're an independent contractor almost, like, you know, which is like, people think that you like, that wouldn't be what you would want. Like they think, oh, well, don't you want to be a full-time teacher if you're a sub? Like, isn't that what you're trying to become? It's like, no, not in this capacity to high school students.
No, and it was affirming for me because I've tried to be a teacher for like a long time and it keeps not working out. Like, but it always feels like whenever I get rejected, it always feels like, dude, like my spirit guide or somebody is like, just stop. Like, we are saving you.
Yeah. And now you got to be in it and you were like, oh my God,
Yes.
I do not want this. And now, like, you know that you don't want it.
Yeah, it
I think that's
affirmed
so
so
beautiful.
much.
I
Oh my
love that
gosh.
so much, because a lot of people could have gone a different way and really felt bad about themselves. And like, I do love that you're like, weird, but also yay. And
I was like, this makes so much sense.
yeah, exactly. Like, you're like, I know I'm not a fit. Now they're telling me what I already know and they're allowing me to go. And then I like it just the way that it happened. I was like, oh my God, like, this is how this is happening. She's just going to get out of it and go back to what she was doing before. Like, she got to literally experiment in it and then come back out.
Yeah. It was so great. I popped in and the universe spit me back out and was like, honey, no.
It was like a third line door open just for you. It was like, hey, we're gonna let you try this thing. And then if you don't like it, you just come back out this way and move on.
It's funny because I've noticed, I know we've talked about this, I've noticed that whenever I play with the reflector strategy and authority, it makes sense for me too.
Yeah.
And how perfect is that? There was so much disappointment. It wasn't so much, I mean, there's a little bit of bitterness, but there's a lot of disappointment. And then it was like 28 days of doing this thing and realizing it's not for me. I'll have to go back and look for sure, but it was right around that time.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
For all of you that don't know, the strategy for reflectors is to wait a 28-day cycle before making decisions, right? Or is that the authority? Did I just say that wrong?
Yes. Yeah, no, that's right. And this is a good example of that, because I think a lot of people get stressed thinking they have to wait a whole month. It's like, well, just do the thing and give it a month.
Yeah, you don't have to just stand there and wait and feel every gate as it goes through your moon, which is right. What the reasoning for the waiting is, because reflectors are feeling into it, like extra feeling with their moon energy. And it's just, I love that you said that. Like, you were in it, you were doing the thing, but then you were like, oh. It's just, I think people need to give themselves exit strategies at all stages. Like, you need exit strategies for whatever long-term things that you have. And that might sound scary for people, especially when it comes to like long-term relationships, but we all change and our needs change. And maybe it's not an exit strategy so much as like a little shifty door. Like, we have to shift this a little bit maybe. But for you, like you said, you got to go that whole period of time, and then you didn't have, it just kind of, like you said, the universe released you.
Yeah. And it was perfect timing because my last day, was a Monday. And then the very next day I had signed up to start working with a new business coach that I really love. And she had a call, like a group call for the program that following day. So the timing of everything worked out perfect, because if I was working, I wouldn't, like, it'd be harder for me to make that call.
Yeah.
And so I stayed home the next day and I slept. I took like a 2-hour nap that day. I could barely do anything. I was so tired. It's like my body was just done. And I got to be on the call and I was so happy. And then the next day, I still took a nap, but it wasn't quite 2 hours. So I took 2 days to just transition to business mode. And it was like perfect timing. It was so great. And the whole month of April, like, I didn't get any aligned AF orders. I didn't get any readings. I wasn't able to go live because I was exhausted. And it's like none of that. And then as soon as I changed my energy, as soon as I left that and I was able transitioning over here, I got like 3 aligned AF orders. I have a couple readings on the books, like getting momentum on my HD 101 course, like all this stuff started happening.
You released a new program. Yay!
Yeah. So that's what's so interesting energetically too. It's like learning that recognition invitation, and to let yourself sit back a bit and to let the energy come to you. It's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we all know, so I'm still working on that because I'm still at the restaurant, but it's okay. I haven't worked 4 days a week in a long time, and that's the one that really messes with me. 3 days doesn't feel it feels very like I'm not a part of it, very disconnected, which is good. So I love that the way that this all went, and that the whole time you didn't blame yourself for anything that happened, that the dates didn't go the way that you wanted to go, and then something happened that took you away from time to do that. Because other people would be like, well, I have to get on there and I have a match with these people, and oh look, they want, like, they would try to fit it in because they said they were going to go on dates, and that means to them I have to succeed at this thing. And it's like, no, you're just experimenting with this thing, like dipping your toe in this thing, and then this other thing happened, and you know energetically what you have the capacity for and what you don't.
Yeah.
And even if you wanted to do both, the universe will remind you, they'd be like, hey, you can't do this. And I love that, like I said, the whole time it was more of it feels like you were very much the observer of like what was going on, and not like in it personally. You were just kind of out here going, oh, okay, so this is how this is going, and oh, I thought I would like this and I don't like this, so we'll see how that goes. Oh, I'm out, cool. And then now it's very much the universe just spit you out and was like, okay, now you're done.
You're like, go do this now. This is what you've been needing to do. Yeah. But it's been fun too, because I'll be in a different class, right? Because I just sub wherever now. And one of my speech kids will come in, or one of my debate kids, and they're like, oh my gosh. For like
You're
the first,
here.
yes, for the first 2 weeks after, whenever one of them see me, they're like, we miss you so much. Can you come back? Oh my gosh.
You're like, no, I cannot. is that guy doing okay, the Mr. Speech?
Yeah, we actually had a long talk on Friday. We were just chatting about stuff, and because he's never taught before, so I was a little nervous for him. But and it's been a little bit of a transition to do the speech classes, but the debate stuff, he's getting things organized. He's doing a lot of good, I think, from what I can tell. It's really interesting because the old teacher can't let go of things. She cannot let go. She's trying to still control the program. It's like it's not your program anymore.
This student is way better. Like he's gonna.
Yeah, it's just like he's changing stuff. Yeah, right. It's like, okay, well that's the agreement y'all had, but I'm gonna do it this way. And so some of the kids are mad, some of the kids love it, but it's just like with anything. There's somebody new coming in, so there's a transition time, and
they need to learn how to handle change because it's gonna happen to them in the real life. So
yeah,
high school's not really real life, but
yeah.
But at least they'll learn, like, if something changes, you're still okay. Like, and it might actually be better. So
right. It'll be fun. But now I just I gotta figure out, because the kids ask me if I'm still subbing next year. Like, you're gonna come back next year, right? I'm like, I honestly don't know. Like, I feel like if I can trust myself and do the things that I know I'm meant to do, my business will be rocking and rolling, and I don't want to waste my time.
And last summer you were doing stuff with them, right? Like debate stuff, weren't you?
I didn't start that until the fall.
Oh, okay. So you don't do anything in the summer with the school at all?
No.
Oh,
no.
That's exciting.
Yeah, not at all. So I'll have a lot more time to connect with myself, but it's also scary, right? Because then all I have right now is my business. So there's but
you've done this before.
Yeah. So I'm not scared like I was in the past. I've had time to transition to this. It's just an interesting.
You don't want to go back now. Yeah. You're like, now I don't want to go back at all.
No, it's like, I might go like once or twice a month just to check in on kids. Be like, hey, how you doing? What's going on? Like, yeah, but really, I don't. It's too much energy.
And it's almost like now your body and your mind is kind of reconciling that, like, summer and then you go back, summer and then you go back. And now it's like summer
and then can we just keep that going, please? Yes.
So now it's like, because I have that feeling a lot with the restaurant. I'm like, what would happen if I just wasn't here? What would happen if I just didn't, like, I don't think about like the holiday time about me being there. It's very, I'm trying to think about it in those terms, even though it's like, I don't know what the hell's going to happen, but I like that you have placed yourself there already, which is exciting.
Well, I will say that's taken a few years, because this is one thing that we should talk about at some point, because I think it would help people thinking about going out on your own and like doing the entrepreneur thing and trusting the universe to be your bank and your pay, like that you're on the universe's payroll. It can wreck your nervous system, and people don't talk about that enough, I don't think. But people are starting to, but there's a lot of inner work that needs to go into that. So it's taken me a while and a lot of ups and downs, and we'll see how this summer goes.
Yeah, I think it's so cute that you still want to check in with the students. I don't know if you saw it, but it might have been on Facebook. I shared this video of this choir teacher was retiring after 30 years, and a bunch of his adult students got together. There was like 40 of them, and he was leading them in this song, and this one girl had a beautiful voice, and they never practiced. Like, they just came together and did it one time. And everybody's face was just like so happy to be there. And like the little quotes and stuff were like, this teacher changed our lives forever. And well, most of us went on to be like teachers or in the arts or whatever. And they're like, you'll never know how much you mean to the student until they come back to you. And they're like, look at what you did. And they were adults. So it had been a little while. And I was like, oh, they all came and sang with this guy. And he was so excited to like lead them, and
that's so sweet.
It was really cute. I was like, oh, I wish I could sing, but no, it's okay.
And that's the main reason I would want to be like a full teacher. It was nice to having my own classroom, because some kids knew where I was then, right? So then they would come say hi to me in between classes or whatever, and I could have that long-term
but thing. I think you're already
but now
you're already like in there.
It's cool. It's really fun when I walk in a room and like there have been times the kids would cheer. I'd walk in, they're like, oh my gosh, it's you, thank God, oh my gosh. And
they're gonna tell that story in 20 years.
Yeah, like even some kid would come in, like
a full-time teacher, they're gonna remember Coach Davila, and they're gonna tell the stories about you, and they're gonna remember you. And like,
I hope so.
They are, because I remember the teachers that I liked. There wasn't very many.
Yeah,
I was just really shy, so. But
same.
I only better with teachers more than kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were some teachers who I thought were really cool, and I think you'll always be that for these kids. Like, no matter if you see them again on a regular basis or not, they'll remember who you are.
Well, thank you.
Because you're so cool. So is there anything that you want to say about anyone else who maybe is thinking about getting into dating, who hasn't been dating for a while?
Strategy and authority. Like, that's what we say with everything.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
strategy and authority above all else.
Yeah. And that is going to be different depending on your human design. If you don't know what that is, then figure it out. That sounds so mean, but
you can go to my website and run your chart, and then you can hire either one of us to give you an explanation. Yeah. We both do it in very cool different ways. I think our offerings right now are really neat. So well, thanks for letting us into this like little part, because I know this was very personal. I made a joke about these episodes being all about you, but they were a lot about you, and like you had to talk about a lot of stuff that is you, and I know that can be hard. So thank you for telling us all about it. And for sure. I'm just excited that you went through that whole thing happened for you, and that you could come out on the other side and realize that you don't want to do that thing that you thought you wanted to do. Yeah.
You know, it was similar to, I got my yoga teacher training certification like 7 or 8 years ago. And I thought I wanted to be a teacher. And I really couldn't, like I tried to do like a YouTube channel thing. And I auditioned for some studios, and it just wasn't like, I couldn't get into it. I really loved my training, and I really enjoy yoga, and I like sharing it with other people, but I don't know what it is about teaching a class. It just doesn't feel like something I would want to do.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know, but I'm glad that I have that. Like I had that experience, and I have my certification because it's fun to have, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
And I still do yoga every day because it helps me get into my body, which we talked about a lot on the podcast with Travis. Especially if you're like Rebeka and I, and you're undefined in the body, you have to find ways to get down there somehow.
Yes, it's so important.
And I think one of the best pieces of advice I could give people in that is it's not going to feel any one way. And if you're trying to like feel how it feels to be in your body, it's hard. It's like a very hard thing to describe, and hard to, you just have to allow yourself the time and the space to be there, and trust that that's where you are. Even if your mind is still like doing things and you can't focus, let's say you're meditating or whatever, if you're there still, then you're doing it. Good job. Like, I think people try to make like getting into your body seem like it's very complicated and difficult thing to do. But I think the most difficult part is like being there, being in it, being in the thing.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because my mom has a open crown, undefined mind, and she's an emotional manifester. And I told her once, like, you just need to ground yourself in your body. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And I still really can't like explain what it is either, but I know that like if I am on my yoga mat for 5 minutes meditating, and I meditate lying down because I don't feel, my hip is not great, so sitting up is not very comfortable for me, so I lie down. All my meditations are shavasana, which is corpse pose in yoga, so it's easy. I just lay down, and sometimes I have crap going on, and sometimes my dogs come in barking and acting all crazy, and I just say, you stay here until the guided meditation, I use guided meditation because I like that as well, is over. And sometimes it feels like I did a terrible job at meditating, and other times I almost fall asleep. So it's going to go different. I've been meditating every day for over 2 years. It's going to feel different every time you do it. But if you commit to stay where you are, just however is comfortable for you. You don't have to sit or be yoga pose or whatever. I know I'm totally off the topic, but meditation has been one of those things for me that has really changed like how my days go.
Yeah.
I don't really know how it will look without doing it, because I haven't really helped.
Yeah. No, I'm the same. If I don't do it, it's weird, but it's like I need a little bit of meditation and journaling. And I know you don't do the journaling, but for some reason that's like the magic ticket for me. I don't even have to write anything profound. I just need to journal.
Yeah, the meditation for me is like the magic.
Yeah.
Just going and listening to somebody. Well, this is a fun episode, and I'm glad that we got to talk about our personal selves.
Yes.
And if y'all have any questions for us, or any ideas or hottie topics that you want to hear about, let us know. We're also open to having guests on, and if you want to be a guest, we just ask that you have something about human design that you get fired up about and you want to talk about, and it might not be the same viewpoint as another person, but we don't really care about that because we want to hear it. Yeah. So that's that. It's been great to talk to you. I really have missed you. But again, as I said, it was like you were away on some sort of quest. So I knew you had to be away, but then you were called back. And I was like, she's back. I said that to Sean. I was like, she's back to me. So She's back, everybody. And better than ever. With lessons and all kinds of things. And that's what we want from our third line life. And that's what we're going to give you. So
yes.
Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.